Hello YouTube, this is Michael B. the Game Genie, and this is a video response to Billy and Jay of the Game Chasers and Captain 8-Bit's channel of a great new series they're doing called That's the Way Gameplay Go, this time featuring the NES. BAM! And since I don't just want to copy their video, this is going to be an unscheduled and unplanned episode of Video Game Nostalgia.
Goodbye.
So, for those of you who've been following my channel for a while and watching episodes of Video Game Nostalgia, you already know how I came about getting my first Nintendo Entertainment System. What you may not know is the actual backstory of how I first came across it. In the last episode of Video Game Nostalgia about favorite video game commercial, I told you when I was around 6 or 7, during watching Saturday morning cartoons, or WWF Superstars, which came on Saturday morning, I saw my first ever commercial for the NES, and I was absolutely awestruck. I had to get it. So I talked to my mom about getting it, and I talked to my dad, and my dad at the time, he didn't really want me to get it. He was more interested in me getting involved in sports. Now, my dad's idea of sports at the time was signing me up for gymnastics, which, because I had to wear shorts and I was a weird kid, I didn't want to do. I never really got into, and he just didn't want to see me sitting in front of the TV all day playing video games. That wasn't his idea of what a kid should be doing. So I couldn't convince my parents to buy it for me at that time. So a little while later, I was at Cub Scouts, and one of my other friends, yeah, that's me at Cub Scouts, one of my other friends actually showed me his issue of Nintendo Power. And that was when I made up my mind. I went home and I worked out a deal with my father, and I said, I will save up my allowance every single week until I have enough money to get my Nintendo. And we worked out a deal. I saved up my allowance, and he chipped in some for his birthday. And he bought me my very first ever Nintendo Entertainment System, which is the control deck. Actually, this is not my original box. I may have explained this already. I didn't keep any of my original boxes for my NES, none of my games, anything. So, after I started collecting all my stuff again, I had to find the original box. And this is the exact original box I had. It's actually the Canadian version, because you can see the English and French-Canadian Nintendo seal of quality. So, of course, the control deck actually didn't come with a game. It just came with your base core system. So I really wanted to get a game. I talked to my mom. I got some great birthday money at that time, and I was going out to buy a game. But what game did I want to get? Obviously, I had recently saw this commercial, and all the talk about the Nintendo was about Mario anyways, so I was going to get Super Mario Bros. 2. A lot of people play down Super Mario Bros. 2, but it's actually one of my favorite games for the system. I still play it to this day. I absolutely love it. The Super Mario Bros. 2 is an incredible game. So I had Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I really loved the game, but it's the only game I had, and I really didn't know anything else about it. That's when, luckily, Saturday morning cartoons provided a little insight on what other games I should basically be looking for. And that was through the cartoon Captain and the Game Master. Of course, from the cast, you can see there's obviously Captain N, but it also had some characters from other popular Nintendo games, such as Castlevania, Metroid, Kid Icarus, and Mega Man. Now, Castlevania is an incredible game, but I found it so hard as a kid. And with both Metroid and Kid Icarus, I found the levels kept climbing, and I didn't really understand the way it worked, because you gotta understand, the only other game I had played at that time was Super Mario Bros. 2. So I kept waiting for there to be the end of the stage, and it just never happened in either game. So those games never really fit for me. However, I took a stab, and that Christmas, I asked for Mega Man 2. So Christmas morning, I wake up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, And of course, under the tree is Mega Man 2. And this is what did it for me. Mega Man 2 is probably my favorite game of all time. I'm going to be careful saying that because it's actually The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. But Mega Man 2 is definitely my favorite Nintendo game. To me, Mega Man 2 is probably the most perfect Nintendo game. I just absolutely enjoy the level design, the music, the bosses. Everything was fantastic, and it was just so much fun to play. I actually remember I got stuck at Crashman when I was younger, and I actually went away, and I thought out in my head a plan on how to beat him. And anyways, it's still the strategy I use to this day. It worked perfectly. I can beat Crashman without taking a single hit with my P-Buster. Love Mega Man 2. So of course, keeping up the Joneses, all the rest of my friends on the block also had to go out and get a Nintendo Entertainment System. But the cool thing was, we really didn't have any similar games. They would all go pick up games that they wanted. So I got to play some amazing other games, such as Prisoner of War, which is a really fun arcade-style side-scrolling beat-em-up based in a prison camp. And the whole time I was playing it, I was just thinking, wow, this is just like the movie Rambo. This is so cool. And probably one of my favorite games of all time, and a game I never owned growing up, was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So whenever I found out one of my friends had Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, they immediately became one of my best friends, and I too had sleepovers. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it, and there were many late nights playing Punch-Out. Of course, we would only play it until we reached Soda Popinski, because then he played us, and Punch-Out was over. One thing I was always really jealous of, though, most of my friends, when they got the Nintendo Entertainment System, they didn't get the control deck like I did. They, in fact, got the Action Set, which of course came with the NES Zapper. And of course, they all had the game Duck Hunt, which I didn't have. I absolutely love Duck Hunt. It's just a fun, great game, and whenever I could get a lend of it and the Zapper, I would just sit down and play Duck Hunt all day long. Of course, I would cheat as well. I would basically plug in Duck Hunt, I would take the Zapper, and I would put the Zapper directly to the TV and shoot the ducks. This is how ridiculous it got. I actually tried to finish Duck Hunt. You don't finish Duck Hunt, but I sat by the TV and got all the way to level 99, just zapping the ducks as soon as they came out. Ridiculous. I would never do it again, but I remember that was a full weekend of me playing Duck Hunt trying to finish it. So what self-respecting Nintendo owner in the late 80s didn't have a subscription to Nintendo Power? Of course, talked my mom into it, and she got me a 1-year subscription to Nintendo Power that came complete, believe it or not, with a free game, and that was Dragon Warrior on the NES. So I get Dragon Warrior, and I was so excited to get a free brand new Nintendo game. But going back to talking about Super Mario Brothers and finding games challenging, I didn't have any idea what I was doing in Dragon Warrior, and I didn't really have a strategy guide or anything to tell me what to do, so I didn't really play Dragon Warrior all that much. I mean, it was very confusing the way you moved. It wasn't like anything else I played, like The Legend of Zelda or anything like that. Basically, everything was a little bit text-based. I was just lost. All I did was, I left the first castle, I wandered around fighting slimes until I died. That was it. Started the game over, did the exact same thing. To this day, I've never taken the time to go through the original Dragon Warrior, but it's something I want to do. And actually, it gave me a really bad start to RPGs. It's amazing that I became such a huge RPG fan after playing the original Dragon Warrior, being so frustrated. So on top of getting Dragon Warrior with my Nintendo Power subscription, I also get my very first issue of Nintendo Power. On the cover, it has Mega Man 3. Boom! I couldn't believe how excited I was. Mega Man 3. I was still playing Mega Man 2. I was still absolutely in love with it. So the next one was coming out, and I said, well, man, this game has just got to blow the top off everything else that Mega Man 2 did. But at the same time, I was a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. And Turtles 2, the arcade game, was also coming out at the exact same time. So it's birthday season, and I'm only going to get one of these games. I know that. So I had to choose. And my love of Turtles at the time really won out. So Mega Man 3 sat on the back burner. But of course, I got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. It was incredible. It was just such an upgrade from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original Ultra game for NES, which my brother had purchased and we had, but honestly, I couldn't do anything with it. I loved playing the first level, that was exciting, but when I got to the dam stage, I just got stuck on the dam and I just got frustrated with the game and I never ever did anything else with it. Actually, still to this day, I still have not beat the dam level. I'm going to, but I haven't yet. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was exactly like the arcade game. It was just such, in my opinion, a perfect port onto the NES, and I love playing it. There were a couple additional levels put in, there was use of another Konami code, and I loved it. I loved playing it with friends. So of course, birthdays. I talked about my birthday, but what about friends' birthday parties? Does anybody here remember going to friends' birthday parties and the only thing you did was you had your hot dogs, you had your little bit of cake, opened the presents, and then bam, we went to the TV and we were playing Nintendo in all its glory. And probably one of the most popular games we would ever play at a birthday party was the original Contra on the NES. So of course we'd always play 2-player, and we'd use the code, of course, the Konami code. Who wouldn't? We'd plug in the code, and we would just burn right through the game. Actually, we didn't burn right through the game. Even with the Konami code, as kids, we still found it extremely challenging to finish Contra. So I'm coming up on my second Christmas as an NES owner, and my mom this time informs me that I'm allowed to get 3 games for Christmas. It's a huge deal. 3 games to a kid is a lot. But I wanted to make sure I was getting the right games. So of course, I went through a whole selection process of what I was going to get. The first went back to the game I passed up on my birthday, and that was going to be Mega Man 3. Mega Man 3 is an incredible game. Also, the debate right here, if anybody's wondering. In my opinion, Mega Man 2 is a better game, but Mega Man 3 is still an incredible game. A very close second to being the best game in the Mega Man franchise, behind 2. One of the things that really puts Mega Man 3 over the top for me is the music, specifically the intro theme. Oh man, there's nothing in the world that sounds better than this. And there's some amazing remixes online as well that you should definitely go check out. So I still have 2 games to select, and this is where I made a bit of a mistake. I started talking to all the other kids on my street, and they all started talking about these wicked games that are coming out this Christmas. One of which they were 100% right on, and that is Double Dragon 2: The Return. I know a lot of people don't like the fighting mechanic in this one, and some of the platforming a little bit later gets really crazy, but Double Dragon 2 was still an excellent game, and I really enjoyed it. The last game, on the other hand, in my opinion, wasn't such a great game. It was an arcade port to the NES, also by Acclaim, Narc. I don't know why we thought this was such a cool game. I mean, the graphics are really bad. They look like an Atari 2600 game. The music's not that great, but I guess it was just... it just looked cool, would be the best way to put it. I mean, you had the really cool black case with the bullet holes. You play these road cops taking down drug dealers. You're driving around in a really fast car. Yeah, I guess it looks cool. But you know what? As a kid, I hated Narc. I probably got to the 3rd level and I was done with it. So, anyways, huge mistake Christmas time. Narc was probably my first experience of buying a game I was dissatisfied with. Then, reaching the end of my NES life cycle, comes the event. The event I'm speaking of is The Wizard, starring Fred Savage. California! Anyways, The Wizard was an amazing marketing tool for Nintendo's products. And it was also the initial launch of Super Mario Bros. 3. There was not a single person I knew growing up that, after seeing The Wizard, didn't stop everything and just basically put everything on hold and wait for Super Mario Bros. 3 to come out. And when it did, we all got it in the same time span. I got it for my birthday, my friend Joey got it for his birthday, the kid Anthony down the road got it for his birthday, which ended up being in November. We all got it at the same time. I think there was like 7 kids. We all got Super Mario Bros. 3. And then we just go over to each other's houses. We all had the game. We didn't need to. But we go over to each other's houses to watch them play, just to see how far they got and see if we could pick up any tips, any tricks. And there were so many amazing secrets in this. I mean, you go behind the white blocks, the new power-ups, and of course the secret we all learned from the Wizard when we get the warp whistle in the first sub-castle. Super Mario Bros. 3 was definitely the game changer. It was probably the biggest game on the Nintendo Entertainment System, and that came around the end of my NES life cycle. It was just shortly after that that I started seeing advertisements for the Sega Genesis, and Nintendo Power started advertising the Super Nintendo, so my interest in the Nintendo started to fade at that part. There were still some great games that came out around that time frame. I mean, G.I. Joe came out from the NES that I rented and loved, but I never bought because I wanted to get that Super Nintendo. I really missed out on a lot of really great NES titles at the end of the lifespan that I'm so happy to learn about right now. Anyways, guys, I know this video was probably a lot longer than I intended to, but I just love the Nintendo Entertainment System so much. It's so fun to look back on. My personal memory. Anyways, I also want to say congratulations to Captain 8-Bit, Billy and Jay. I mean, this is a fantastic idea for a series, and I'm not putting down the Game Chasers because I absolutely love the Game Chasers. Your guys' Game Chasers episodes are one of the things that inspired me to actually do videos on YouTube. But it's refreshing to see you guys talk about your memories and talk about things you love. Not talking about collecting or finding rare games, just talking about games for the purest reason of all. Because you love them growing up, or just because they're fun to play. So I think this is an amazing idea for a series. I really enjoyed it, and it really basically inspired me to do this video as well. So congratulations, guys, and I hope you enjoyed my history with the Nintendo Entertainment System. Talking about when I picked up the system, different points where I picked up important games in my console life with the Nintendo. And yeah, that's it. So anyways, this is Michael B. the Game Genie. I'll talk to you next time. And why do I need like 10 Nintendo systems here? 2 top loaders? This is getting out of hand.